お嬢様がどうしたのです。あら。
There's honestly no shortage of fan-made Touhou titles. While some are better than others, the characters and world lend themselves to multiple genres and experiences. The Koumajou Remilia series first emerged in 2009, but I didn't have the chance to play it until the game was remastered. Now, Koumajou Remilia II Stranger's Requiem is getting the same treatment, and while its features have been updated, I couldn't help but want a true modern sequel. On the other hand, this is probably one of the most challenging bullet hell action platformers that I've played in quite some time. Koumajou Remilia II Stranger's Requiem takes place following the conclusion of the first game. Players assume the role of Sakuya, who comes to discover that all her comrades have gone missing. Her goal is to head to the Scarlet Devil Castle in search of Remilia and everyone else. While each stage introduces a boss-type antagonist, there is a clear enemy that reveals herself throughout the story. As action-centric as this game is, it does take its time with the narrative to at least keep you invested in Sakuya's adventure. The journey through the Scarlet Devil Castle resembles the story of Dante's Inferno, as you push through the gothic environments while getting further and further from what anyone would deem reality. This is mirrored by the challenging enemies who await you in each room. The setting matches the tone of the narrative and keeps you trekking forward, even though you may suffer a few game overs from time to time. Koumajou Remilia II is a very challenging game. I don't advise newcomers to even attempt the normal playthrough unless you raise the lives to 20. Each environment is separated into stages, providing a classic Castlevania appeal as you march deeper and deeper into this hellish castle. Once you've completed the game, it's time to play through the new epilogue that's added for this release. Given that I haven't played this game before, I don't know what the experience is without this added context, but I'll admit that it's a nice touch to cap off the story. The gameplay also receives some touch-ups to refine the controls. It did take some time for me to understand them, but there's a decent tutorial available on the main menu. I say decent because it's really easy to miss some of the steps presented, but you can play through it as many times as you want. Anyway, the real gameplay takes on a more arcadey approach, where before each stage you can equip weapons or Touhou girls to lend some assistance in fights. Sadly, there weren't any details on the attack styles of the various Touhou characters. You'll just have to use them in battle to find out what they do, which is only a negative because none of their attacks are very straightforward. Stage designs begin fairly linear, but the later stages do have maze-like paths that lead to secrets. Regardless of which path you take, you'll eventually get to a boss only to get your ass handed to you within seconds. You see, this is a very difficult game. Over the years, these types of games encourage a more aggressive playstyle with fast dodges and attacks. However, in this title, it's all about understanding the enemy attacks, which aren't telegraphed at all, and planning out the best strategy to take them out. The bosses take the Touhou bullet hell systems and bring it into the 2D platformer world. I can't tell you how many times I died, but what likely kept me playing through all the frustration was how quickly the game resets to the checkpoint. You're not really given the chance to think, and in a boss fight, you're pretty much thrown right back into the bullet hell nightmare that you just came out of. To assist with the survival, you have a backdash and a ground stomp. You're equipped with weapons and a special on a cooldown. While you have the basic attacks, utilizing the entire moveset is key. One of the toughest features that I had to learn and utilize correctly was the flying ability. It's useful to avoid enemies and damage, but I forgot it was there sometimes my first time playing. I didn't really find the button layout easy to get the hang of, but I eventually felt comfortable playing on harder difficulties. At times during a stage, you'll be surrounded by enemies whose only goal is to take you down. While there are a lot of enemy types, I didn't particularly like that some of the flying enemies could hide underneath the floor. It just made them a bit more annoying to take down. Still, each stage introduces new enemy types who will take time to understand in hopes that you don't take damage. The game becomes skill-based over time as you push your understanding of Sakuya's abilities and utilize them to avoid damage. The boss battles are an extension of the enemies you face across the adventure, but this statuses turned up to 11. Even after clearing the game 3 times, there was some attack patterns that I couldn't avoid, but I was up for the challenge. Upon clearing, new modes are unlocked along with new playable character, so there's reason to continue your adventure. Playing on the Switch allowed me to take on challenging stages in bite-sized portions in hopes that my frustration wouldn't get the best of me. While I find the pixel art to be decent, I would have liked to see the area of presentation be updated, but I've got to say that the illustrations of the characters really added quality to the adventure. It's capped off by an awesome soundtrack that immerses you in this gothic world, and while the translation could have used some work, it's miles better than its predecessor. Koumajou Remilia II Stranger's Requiem is now preserved on newer hardware. The good and bad of it is that it hasn't aged too well, but the challenge is up there for any masochists who want to take it on. But on that same note, you can play through on lesser difficulties and enjoy the beautiful illustrations and gothic narrative. It's rare to find a new gaming experience that borrows from early Castlevania titles, so if you're eager to test your 2D action skills, you'll find more than a few moments of fun here. Noisy Pixel is giving Koumajou Remilia II Stranger's Requiem a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.